Hey guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite contemporaries. Now, I don't usually read contemporary a lot, but during this summer, especially this summer, I've had this really big kick to read contemporary, and of the ones that I read, I'm going to be talking about some of my favorites today. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. The first book on my list today is actually a recent one. I read it this year when it first came out, and that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. The Hate You Give is such an amazing and important book, especially for our time today. The Hate You Give is inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it follows the main character Star, who recently is the sole witness to the murder of her best friend. And now, since she's the sole witness, she gets caught up in this. It involves police brutality, and it's very important. I think it's so relevant to our time today, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement going on, and I think this is such an important read that everyone should read it, and I think everyone could benefit from it. Also, I really love the cover. It's really minimalistic, which I really like. Back is also, I don't know, I like the matte-ish black of it. I also love the cover. Next book is also a recent book that I read in the past few months, and that is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. I have not stopped talking about this book since I read it, and that is because it's so amazing. The story is beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, and is now one of my new favorite books of this year so far, and oh my god, so good. So the story follows a boy named Adam who is in his senior year of high school, and he has an elective to be the aide of his school psychologist. Now, he's really excited about this job because the school psychologist, you don't really have to do anything, and he's just excited to just sit around and text his friends all day. But then one day, the school psychologist tells him to follow this boy who has been avoiding his appointments, and Adam is told to follow him. Adam meets this boy whose name is Julian, and he finds out that Julian is actually his foster brother that he hasn't seen in 5 years. I will put a trigger warning on this for child abuse because it is pretty graphic, and I almost felt like crying when I read it, and I usually don't cry in books, so it's really sad, and if you're triggered by that, I would recommend that you don't read this. Because Adam is excited to be reunited, but Julian is this very shy boy, and he has an abusive uncle, and he's very introvert, so he's a very much of an introvert, so he doesn't talk that much. But he develops this friendship with Adam, and this book is all about friendship and kindness and how to be kind to others, and it's just so good. It's really sad. I almost felt like crying, and as I said before, I don't usually cry in books, but in this one I almost did, which says a lot about it. But overall, this is an amazing book. The next book is an old-ish book, but it is a favorite on BookTube, and that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Fangirl was one of the first contemporaries I ever read, and I so loved it because the main character Kath is a lot like me. So basically, it follows a girl named Kath who is much of an introvert, and she is a huge fan of a book series called Simon Snow. Simon Snow is kind of like Harry Potter for that world, and the story is very similar, but she is very obsessed with it. She writes fan fiction for it. That's why it's called Fangirl, and it's very much of a part of who she is. Kath has a twin named Ren, and Ren is an outgoing person, very extrovert, and Ren doesn't want to live with Kath anymore. She wants to explore her own, and she wants to go to college. They mention this, but Kath and Ren are going to college, and Ren kind of just wants to separate a little bit from Kath because Ren just wants to be more outgoing. She wants to make new friends, get new experiences that Kath wouldn't like because she's an introvert. Basically, Kath has had Ren by her side for all her life, but now she doesn't, and she deals with that, and the story is so good. I love it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's just so amazing because Kath is like me. I'm an introvert. I am very into books as much as she is, and she likes to write fan fiction, and I used to write fan fiction about Percy Jackson a while ago, but she's just so much like me that I found so much of my personality in her, and that's why I love this book so much. Next book I read kind of recently, a few months ago, and that is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. By the way, the cover is gorgeous. Look at that. It's colorful, and it's just bright and explosive, and I love it. The Sun Is Also a Star follows two people. One, a girl named Natasha, who's Jamaican, and she is literally on the verge of being deported back to Jamaica. So she's going and she's trying to fix it and trying to extend it or trying to stop it from happening, and then on the street she meets a boy named Daniel who is a Korean American, and he is basically stuck that his family wants him to go to a top university, and they want him to become a doctor, but he doesn't want that, and so he's stuck between doing what his parents like and doing what he likes. This story follows over a span of one day, and Natasha and Daniel meet each other and they tell each other about what's happening, and they talk, and they soon start to fall in love. I know the story sounds really cliche, and I promise you that it's not. It's so much more. Julie Yoon's writing is very so great, and her stories always seem cliche at first, but there's so much more to the story when you start reading it, and that's what I love about her books. The next one I'm so excited about because I love this so much, and that is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. Adam Silvera is a very diverse author. He usually writes about like racial diversity and sexuality diversity, and just his books are always so amazing. More Happy Than Not follows a boy named Aaron who is gay, and he wants to change that. He wants to forget a lot of things about his life, and so there is a Lateo Institute in this book that is a memory relief procedure. So you go there and you basically remove memories. I think that's how it works. But Aaron wants to go through that procedure. And then later Thomas, a boy named Thomas, comes into the picture, and Aaron and Thomas come close together, and they start liking each other and start building a relationship. This book is so good. This is the very first Adam Silvera book I read. It's amazing. It's one of the first LGBTQ plus novels I read, and it's so much more than I was anticipating. I wasn't anticipating a lot, but this just blew my mind. It's so much more than I thought it was, and I love it so much. The next book is also an Adam Silvera book, and that is History Is All You Left Me. History Is All You Left Me follows a boy named Griffin who has recently lost the love of his life, Theo, in a drowning accident. And Theo, in their history, he had moved to California, and he was actually dating another boy named Jackson. But Griffin always thought that Theo would come back, but he never did. And then Theo died in the drowning accident, and the whole story is about Griffin coping with the grief and the sadness of the death. And then he realized that the only person that actually understands his heartache is Jackson, Theo's boyfriend, before he died. Then Jackson and Griffin open up to each other, and it's just so good. And Adam Silvera always has such sad books, and like his new book is coming out, They Both Die at the End, and I'm so excited for that, and I've heard it's so sad and that will make you cry. Yeah, just Adam Silvera always has this way of just making these heartbreaking sad stories, and I love that. Actually, Adam Silvera is doing a tour for They Both Die at the End, and he's coming to a city that's close by, kind of to where I live, and I really want to go, but it's on a Thursday, and I don't know if I can go because school and stuff, but I'm really hoping to go, and I can't wait to meet him and tell him how much I love his books. The next book is a book that I read like a year ago, so it's kind of oldish, and that is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Mallory Sines. This book is also one of the first LGBTQ plus books I read, and it's so good. So it follows two boys. One is named Aristotle, who is a very self-doubting person. He doesn't think much of himself. And then there's Dante, who is a very self-assured person, and then they meet, and then they complement each other so much, and they start building relationship, and it's so beautiful. Benjamin Mallory Sines always has this beautiful prose that just gets to me, and I usually always end up reading his books in like almost one sitting, which I think is always a great thing with a book. The next book I have is actually one that I do not own. I got it from the library a while ago, and that is Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, I think, is the very first LGBTQ plus novel I read, and it's just so much more than I was expecting, and it was everything I wanted in a book, in a contemporary book, and that is so great. I think I've talked about Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda in another video, but I love Becky Albertalli so much. I read her Upside of Unrequited book recently, and I loved it, and I love Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda more. And it's just, the story is so adorable, and it's that fluffy contemporary you've always been looking for, and it's just so great, and I always gush about it, but it's just because I love it so much. So the last book on this list is Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. Eleanor and Park follows two people, Eleanor and Park, and Eleanor is a girl with very wild, crazy red hair, and a Park who is a boy, and Eleanor is a very quirky person, and it's a love story of two misfits, and it's so great. It's like actually a few months ago, not too long ago, and it was amazing. I loved it so much. I love Rainbow Rowell in general. I want to read other books like Attachments, and I can't wait to read that because because overall I love Rainbow Rowell and she writes the best contemporary ever. She's like the contemporary queen and I love it. So that is all my favorite contemporary. Let me know down below some of your favorite contemporary, as I would love to know. Also, if you have any video suggestions or video requests, also leave them down below and I'll try my best to do those for you. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you next time. Bye!